The Buddha's teaching on silence, wisdom in wordless moments. Silence is not the absence of words. It is a state of deep presence where the mind finds rest and the heart grows wiser. When we are silent, we return home, not to a place, but to ourselves. The world outside slows down, and something within begins to awaken. In the quiet, we start to hear what we could not hear before, the rhythm of breath, the whisper of the wind, the subtle pulse of life moving through everything. In Buddhism, silence is not weakness but power, the power of wisdom. The Buddha often taught through silence, for there are truths that words can never capture. Language can only point to the truth, like a finger pointing at the moon, but it is never the moon itself. When we rest in silence, the mind becomes a mirror, and thoughts appear like passing clouds. We no longer identify with them, we simply observe. This is the beginning of insight, the first step toward freedom. Speaking less and listening more allows us to preserve our energy, cultivate clarity, and deepen our understanding of others. In the stillness between words, consciousness begins to blossom. Silence is not emptiness, it is the fullness of being. Most people cannot bear silence. When a room becomes quiet, we reach for our phones, turn on the TV, or fill the space with meaningless talk. But what we truly fear is not silence, it is ourselves. We talk endlessly because we are uneasy. We speak to cover our loneliness, to avoid facing the emptiness within. Sometimes we speak to convince others, but often, it is ourselves we are trying to persuade. Beneath every unnecessary word lies an unhealed insecurity. A restless mind is like a monkey, jumping from thought to thought, never at peace. Fear keeps it moving, the fear of being misunderstood, forgotten, or unseen. Ego drives it further, the desire to assert, to be right, to be heard. And society rewards this restlessness, it glorifies those who speak loudly, not those who listen deeply. Yet paradoxically, when we speak less, our presence becomes stronger. Our words carry more weight, more truth, more stillness. Silence amplifies the power of our being. In silence, we stop chasing validation. We no longer depend on external recognition to know our worth. We begin to see that true peace does not come from being understood, it comes from understanding. In the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha taught right speech, the practice of mindful communication. It has 4 guiding principles. 1. Speak the truth. 2. Speak gently. 3. Speak not to divide. 4. Speak only when necessary. Every word we speak plants a seed in the mind. A lie plants confusion, harsh words plant anger, gossip plants division. But words spoken with mindfulness plant peace and understanding. However, sometimes silence itself is right speech. Knowing when not to speak is as vital as knowing what to say. Not everything we know must be said. Not every truth is ready to be heard. There is a famous story called the Flower Sermon. One day, the Buddha stood before his disciples and simply held up a flower. No one understood. Only Makasiyapa smiled. The Buddha said, "I have transmitted the true Dharma to Makasiyapa." What was the teaching? Truth cannot be spoken. It must be realized in silence. Thus, silence is not the absence of teaching, it is the highest form of it. In the age of social media, oversharing has become second nature. We reveal our plans, our joys, our wounds, our secrets, often before they have had time to mature within us. But the sacred cannot survive constant exposure. When we reveal our dreams too soon, we disperse the energy needed to manifest them. When we speak of our pain too often, we hand others the power to wound us again. And when we live too publicly, we lose the quiet mystery that gives depth to our existence. Silence protects energy. It does not mean hiding, but honoring what is sacred within. Wise people understand that not everything is meant for display. They speak when necessary, and guard what is precious in the sanctuary of stillness. Every time we share, we invite others' opinions to shape our emotions. One careless remark can deflate our inspiration. One reaction can shift our direction. When this happens, our strength no longer belongs to us. To be silent is to remain sovereign, to hold our power close until it ripens naturally into wisdom or action. True silence is not repression, it is refinement. It transforms energy from words into presence, from reaction into understanding. Our mental and emotional energy is the most valuable resource we have. Every conversation, every argument, every impulsive reaction drains a portion of it. When we speak without mindfulness, energy leaks away like water from a cracked vessel. But conscious silence replenishes power. Each time we choose not to react, not to explain, not to gossip, we reclaim the energy that would have been lost. That energy becomes inner stability, a quiet strength that radiates outward. Not every discussion is worth joining. Not every question deserves an answer. To choose silence is not indifference, it is self-respect. Those who practice silence are not weak, they are wise. They understand that peace is more valuable than being right, that clarity is more precious than winning an argument. When the mind is silent, compassion arises naturally. Because silence softens the boundaries between self and others, it allows understanding to flow. Through stillness, we begin to see that all conflicts are born from noise, and all healing begins in quiet. Silence is not a passive state, it is an active discipline. It requires awareness, strength, and inner maturity. Only those who have mastered themselves can remain quiet amid chaos. To be silent is to observe thoughts and emotions as they arise and dissolve, without judgment, without reaction. Every pause before speaking creates a sacred space of choice. Within that space, we shift from unconscious reaction to conscious response. That space is the birthplace of wisdom. Deep listening is the foundation of true understanding. When we listen fully, we stop preparing our reply and start perceiving reality as it is. In silence, we hear not only the words of others but the feelings beneath them, and even the silence behind those feelings. Meditation is the highest form of silence. In meditation, we cease to struggle with thoughts, we simply watch them come and go. The mind settles, like a lake becoming still after a storm. And in that stillness, clarity reflects truth effortlessly. Through long practice of silence, the ego begins to fade. The need to prove, explain, or impress dissolves. A quiet dignity emerges, the strength of one who no longer seeks validation. Such a person's presence speaks louder than words. They do not dominate a room, they transform it through stillness. In the Zen tradition, silence is the language of enlightenment. A monk once asked his master, "What is enlightenment?" The master looked at him in silence. At that moment, the monk understood, the question had never truly existed. Bodhidharma, the first patriarch of Zen, said, "I came to China to point directly to the human mind, see your nature and become Buddha." He taught not through speech, but through the stillness of his being. His silence cut deeper than any sermon. In many monasteries, practitioners observe noble silence, days or even weeks without speaking. At first, the mind rebels. Restlessness and discomfort surface. But gradually, the waves calm, and what remains is a vast, luminous peace. Another story tells of a monk who was insulted in public. He did not respond. When asked why, he said, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does it belong?" His silence was not avoidance, it was mastery. It reflected compassion born of understanding, the insight that anger only binds the one who clings to it. These stories remind us that silence is not passive. It is an act of awareness, a living wisdom that transcends the need to react. You don't have to retreat to a monastery to live in silence. You can live in the world, surrounded by noise, and yet carry a still heart. The key is not to escape sound, but to find silence within it. Practical ways to begin. Pause before speaking. Ask yourself, is this true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? If not, smile and stay silent. Create daily islands of stillness. Walk without music, sit quietly for 10 minutes in the morning, or simply breathe with awareness. Listen more than you speak. When you listen fully, others feel seen. Silence becomes a bridge of empathy. Practice mindful silence at work. Before replying to criticism or conflict, pause. Observe your emotions without acting on them. Clarity will emerge naturally. Honor silence in relationships. Sometimes the most loving response is not advice, but presence. Over time, silence becomes a sanctuary. It shields you from chaos and allows peace to grow. You realize that true calm does not need to be announced, it radiates quietly, like the fragrance of a flower that needs no wind to be known. Silence becomes your refuge, your teacher, your way of being. Silence is not an escape from life, it is the essence of life itself. It is the still space between breaths, the pause between thoughts, the awareness that watches everything arise and fade. The modern world glorifies volume, loud opinions, constant communication, endless noise. But the truly powerful are often the quiet ones. They do not need to speak to be understood, their very presence conveys depth and certainty. The strength of silence lies in its mystery. It holds everything yet clings to nothing. It teaches patience, humility, and inner freedom. When you learn to be silent, you begin to listen. When you truly listen, you begin to understand. And when you understand, love arises, effortlessly, wordlessly. So remember this. You do not need to reveal everything to be understood. True strength is not in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your silence.
Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to watch more interesting videos.